What's going on, everybody? Welcome back here to another installment of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, video games, comic books, collectibles, hot toys. There's all sorts of fun stuff like that. We got a lot of good stuff to break down for you. There's been a lot of DC news, some Marvel news here, some Star Wars news. We're going to talk about Invincible, kind of give like a mild spoilerish kind of review and discussion there at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But joining me today to go over all these details here, these things, these fun stuffs, is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad, man.
Nope.
Not too bad.
Feeling kind of crappy after getting my first vaccine shot, but
Yeah. And it's been kind of par for the course. Well, there's been some people who've been saying, they had to. Some people were getting sick by it, some people haven't.
yeah,
So, I mean,
it's really just
it's
like
kind of like
really
getting COVID itself. Like some people are asymptomatic, some people don't fucking died. So,
Yeah.
like, it's kind
Yeah.
of a big range of things. So,
right.
we also have Mr. John Knight here. How you doing today, John?
I don't know. I was doing really good yesterday, and then last night I sat down and watched Mortal Kombat, and I don't know. I'm really disappointed right now. So trying to get over the disappointment of that.
Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. But let's go over. Let's get your thoughts on Mortal Kombat now that you talked about it, because I kind of talked about it last week, I believe it was on the show, but Rick hadn't seen it yet, so I kind of gave my general review on it. But what did you think about it?
Well, obviously, from what I just said, I was super disappointed. Like I feel like we've reached that point in movies and TV shows and entertainment where people have come to understand that like the important part is to develop a good story and like have good motivations for characters and stuff and even if it's not even if it's smaller scale, just make sure the story's good and stuff. And I feel like this was really just kind of, I mean, this could have come out in the mid 90s. This could have been one of the sequels to the original Mortal Kombat, and I would have been like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I just expected, I thought we had come further along in filmmaking in this day and age than what this movie gave us. So I put off, like, that's one of the reasons I wasn't on the show last week for the beginning for your segment on this. And one of the reasons I just kept putting it off because I was like, I really want to see it in the theater. Like, I had high hopes for this movie. I was like, yeah, Mortal Kombat. It's 2021. We know how to do genre films now. Like, it's important that you develop characters and story and stuff, and give motivations for why people are doing stuff. Or you go the opposite route and just make the movie fun and over the top. Um, but this movie just kind of fell like in the middle and just kind of was like, we're gonna try and do everything and do none of it well. And I was just like, what is going on? I did watch your I watched, I think, most of all of, maybe, I don't know, all of your review from last week, and I will completely agree at 100% that the actor that played Kano was like that. He was awesome. He was
great,
amazing, and
yeah.
like he was the one redeeming value to that movie. And I hate being so negative about it, but like I guess that's just like I'm really trying to come to terms with my where my expectations were and what they gave me. So
Yeah, and that's the thing too with it. Like, at least what I found, like there was fun stuff in it. Like, there was fun to be had. Like, all the fights were pretty decent. I don't know if it was just maybe they tried to throw too much into it, and
yeah,
like it almost would have been. I was watching Jeremy Johns actually talk about it, and he brought up kind of a good point. And like, everybody wants like a shared universe right now, like, and like everybody does. Like, Universal tried to do a dark universe with like the Mummy and all that stuff, and you see how that panned out. But Mortal Kombat like would have actually kind of suited itself to have a more like shared cinematic universe thing with it, because like the movie opens, and there's going to be brief spoilers here, but this has been released anyway. If you haven't seen it, they released like the first 10 minutes of it. But the movie opens with Sub-Zero going and killing Scorpion, and like it almost would have been better if like that was like a whole movie and you explored that, like why that was happening. And then moved on to like another movie, because you could have done some like Outworld stuff, and then had the stuff with Scorpion and like the Nether Realm, and kind of explained all that. Then in the next movie, have Jackson, Sonya, and Kano do all their kind of stuff, and then like have the big Mortal Kombat tournament happen in the third one or something. Like, I don't know if it was just maybe like again, like, they just tried to throw too much stuff in there and just didn't give anybody enough time to kinda, I don't know, breathe. It's super
Yeah.
weird, though, to say that, like, Kano was, like, the most interesting character in the movie.
It's
Like
kind of funny that you bring up that shared universe thing because I completely agree. Like everybody wants their shared universe. And the reason everybody wants a shared universe is because of what Marvel has done. Marvel has just knocked it out of the ballpark, out of the city, out of the world, out of the universe with how well they've done a shared universe franchise. And yet, as good as Marvel has done it, it's like everybody else refuses to take the blueprint that Marvel gave them. Marvel gave them the blueprint. You introduce characters and solo stories, you focus on the story, you get people invested in the character, and then you start bringing them together. And nobody does it. Everybody wants to skip that part. Everybody wants to, jump right to have all our characters in the same movie. DC did it. Mortal Kombat did it. Universal, I guess they kind of tried, but even still, I think they jammed extra characters into that movie, whichever one came out. I can't remember which one came out
the Mummy, and then
now.
they had
The Mummy.
Russell Crowe's Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll guy was in there, and then, yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, well, who's Tom Cruise's
But,
character?
yeah,
He was
Tom Cruise played some, like, ancient god or something. I forget what it
yeah, like,
was.
even they did, nobody's fine just, like, focusing on the one character and taking the time, and it shows. When you take the time and you do these things right, audience it pays off for the audience, and it makes sense. Everybody wants to jump right to, "Oh, we want a $3 billion Avengers, Endgame movie." It's like, "Well, screw you. No, you gotta go and, like, give me a reason to care about these characters," and I don't know, like this Mortal Kombat movie, like there's so many things that I just don't understand. Why did they start with the 10th version of the tournament? Well, they started Outworld has won not the previous 9. Why are you telling us that the previous 9 have happened? Why I understand that the 10th is the one that matters. That's the one that allows Outworld to invade, but why does that allow Outworld to invade? And why didn't you start with the first tournament? And why don't you tell us why Outworld wants to invade? And like there's so many like if you're going to try and like make it like an introduction for new people, then do that. But if you're not, then don't. Then jump right into the story and just have it be Mortal Kombat. Like, they introduced the who was it, Cole character, and
Yeah.
like you said, they give the backstory on Sub-Zero and Scorpion and stuff, so it's like they're introducing us to the Mortal Kombat world for people that may not know it, but at the same time, they're also, like, throwing in just random stuff that you don't have any rationale or reasoning for. It's the movie, I don't know, it felt like a mess to me, and the other part that was bad was I was bored with part of it. I mean, there were parts where I found myself looking at my phone, I was like, "Wait a minute, what happened? Alright, I guess I'll go back and, like, see what happened," but I don't know.
Well, it
I
was
it's been a
also
little
kind of
while.
odd too that they chose to, like, play with the lore in the sense that, like, everyone gets the mark and unlocks their, like, inner power or whatever, their arcana, whatever. So it's like Kano didn't have, like, a cybernetic eye, it was like he had a superpower, which
Yeah, is that new?
yeah, that's
Was
not
that new
how
for was
yeah.
that for this, or did they introduce? Because I haven't played, like, the last I don't think I may have played 10, I can't remember, and I know I bought 11, but I haven't actually played the story yet, so is that something that's from the games, or is that something they introduced just for this movie?
It was just for the movie. Like, and
Okay,
that's the
so,
thing
like,
too, like,
why?
yeah, I don't know, because like, Jax's arms aren't a power. Like, he loses his arms and he gets robot arms, but, like, for whatever reason and, like, the markings for people being, like, marked, like, the birthmark thing,
Yeah.
that's not a thing either, it's just like there's Mortal Kombat and it exists, and like there's people who fight in it. Like that's all it really is. There's not supposed to be some deeper spiritual weird ass arcana connection with like a tattoo birthmark thing. Who's chosen ones like no, like Liu Kang is like the chosen one if you want to like think about that for like there is that aspect of it, but like Liu Kang was barely in the movie. And that's the thing
Yeah.
too. It's like they're on the 10th tournament here, but then like Liu Kang supposedly like, they made it seem like he had never even fought in a tournament?
Yeah, he
Like
seems like a secondary character to Kung Lao. Kung Lao seems
yeah.
like the chosen one, like the he seems almost envious of Kung Lao
Yeah, and
a
it was
little
just
bit.
weird. They made weird choices with the story in that sense, like, because, like, the Cole character was fine, like, I liked, like, the lore behind him, like being the ancient, like last remaining ancestor of Scorpion and all that stuff. Like, oh, that's fine, but they didn't do enough to like make you care about anybody. Like,
It's the other thing, like, they didn't just tell you who Cole was up front. They gave you little hints, like they show him looking in the mirror and seeing Scorpion in the mirror. Um,
and at this point, though,
but
we
they don't
hadn't even seen Scorpion yet either.
exactly.
So it's kind of dumb.
You're like, okay, this guy's tied to Scorpion somehow. Is he going to be that guy reincarnated as Scorpion? Is he what? And then he turns out to just be some ancient descendant. It was like, okay, and then Scorpion comes back just to fight Sub-Zero at the end, but hasn't been in the rest of the movie. Like, how did he come back? It was just I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
they
Like,
kind of threw in some one line of dialogue from him saying that like he like conquered Netherrealm and like not like conquered it as their king, but like he found a way to harness the power of Netherrealm and stuff, and
well,
like that's how
he
he's
says
back or whatever.
you sent me to hell to burn in the fire for eternity. Instead, I conquered the fire or whatever right
Yeah,
before
whatever.
he does his toasty on Sub-Zero there. But even that was like I don't know. It was
It still doesn't make any sense because it took how long? Like that was they said that that fight in the beginning of the movie happened in like the 1800s or something. So it's
yeah.
like why did it take him 200 years in the 10th tournament to like do like you know, and the biggest flaw in this movie is that the tournament doesn't happen. Like and
For
then
sure.
they
Yeah.
do all
You
these
never
things
get
like they explain like they literally in the movie break their own rules because they say that like you're not allowed to it's illegal, we'll say, against the rules for Outrealm or whatever to interfere with Mortal Kombat in the tournament. Like Sub-Zero isn't allowed to come and start killing people who are supposed to be in the tournament, but that's what the movie is.
yeah,
Like you told me you
there's
can't do that, but then the movie is about that happening,
about that exact
and there's no
thing happening.
consequence for it. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of
Well,
dumb.
and that's the other thing, like, as much as I know it's kind of like a crutch or, like, people maybe it turns people off to do this in a movie, but, like, it's a bad example of it, but it's the one that came to mind first. At the beginning of the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, they they do, like, this voiceover narration with some, um, images, some what am I trying to call it? It's, oh my god, it's a montage with a
Mhm.
montage of footage of the history of the Green Lanterns. I almost feel like they needed something like that, like they needed a montage to op if this is gonna be a reintroduction of the Mortal Kombat franchise, if this is not just building off of what's come before, if it's a whole new thing, and you wanna bring people in and have them understand the story, then start the movie off with a narration over a montage of footage about Outworld and their history of conquering places, and they came to Earth, and Earth's defenders combined to seek the help of the elder gods, and the elder gods it doesn't have to go on for a long, but give us a 5 to 10-minute montage that opens the movie, and then you can jump in. If you wanna make the stakes higher and make this the 10th one, then show us a quick montage of previous fighters or previous Mortal Kombats and
Mhm.
them losing. That way, at least when you give us these rules and stuff, they have some weight or some we understand what it actually means. There's some backstory there rather than just some general one or two lines of dialogue that don't mean anything. I don't know.
Well, and they had their perfect opportunity to do that with at the very end of the intro with the Sub-Zero and Scorpion thing when Raiden shows up and grabs baby Cole, or not Cole, but his great 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 grandma or whoever the hell. That would
That
have been
was
the perfect time for like
yeah.
Raiden to like once the title card comes up, Raiden could just start explaining where we're at now. Like,
Well, that
like
was the other thing that I, like, laughed out loud. I'm sitting by myself, and I laughed out loud, like, later on in the movie, when Raiden's explaining to Cole where he came from, he's like, "I went and I got the child, and I took the child to the one place they would never look for it." I'm like, "Wait a minute, the one place is the place where you train all the combat. Like, how would that not be the first place they would go? Like, what
yeah.
what are you talking about? The last place that they would think to look? The last place would be like, a Target store over in, Mississippi or something. Like, I just
Yeah,
it
and
was
it
such
doesn't
a
really explain how Cole ended up not being a part of it at that point either. Because like he took the baby back with him, but then like this is like 200 years later. Like, why is he not looking over Cole at this point?
Cole, yeah, I mean, like, I assume the reason is that the baby grew up, and then he sent the baby off into the world, and the baby had, a family, and that family had kids, and they had kids, and that
But
eventually
then
Cole was born, but
he had the mark though, so that would theorize that every ancestor, like every apart, someone in his lineage would have also had the mark. So like, who
well,
of
the
his
marks
family people fought in the previous 9 tournaments?
the whole marks thing was very confusing too, because, like, apparently the way the mark transferred was, like, if you killed somebody with the mark, you got the mark, but does the mark also just randomly appear on people? Like, I'm assuming that, like in Cole's case, he was born with the mark and,
Which implies
was
like everyone in his family would have had it, because like Scorpion would have had it, but then Sub Zero would have had it. That's the thing too. It actually doesn't make any sense because Scorpion had the mark, but Sub
well, and
Zero killed
Scorpion and
him.
Sub-Zero but Scorpion and Sub-Zero at the beginning of the movie, as far as we know, have no involvement in Mortal Kombat. Like, you don't know how often the tournaments take place. Do they take place every year, every 10 years, every 100 years? Like, how long did it take to get Outworld to 9 wins? Like,
Well, that's the
there's a
thing too.
lot
That is
about it.
confusing
It's
because like
very confusing.
because like again, like I like in my head just now, I was thinking about it. I just assumed that someone in Scorpion's bloodline would have always had the mark, but since Sub Zero killed him, there's no way anyone in their lineage would have had the mark unless Cole randomly got it after 200 or 300 years or whatever it's been. But like,
And
why?
why is it a mark for Earth realmers? Do the Outworlders have mark? Does Sub-Zero have a mark that's, like, for Outworld? Did Goro have a mark for out like, I it was
It doesn't make any sense
yeah,
in the
it
end.
was it was, like, just a way to, like, I don't even know why they did it. I honestly don't. I guess to make him, like, the chosen one because he had this mark or whatever to
But
bring
they
him
all
into the
had the mark
story,
at
but
that point too, so it's like, what's it even matter? Like, because
well, and then
Jax had the mark, and then like they wouldn't let Sonya fight because she didn't have the mark, but they let
yeah,
Kano fight even though she beat Kano in a fight anyway. So it's like you should just
yeah,
want the best people to fight. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make
yeah,
any sense.
exactly.
Like, it's
Like,
stupid.
they added all these things to the story that break the story almost. The story made perfect sense. It's a tournament for, it's a way for the Earth realm to give the Earth realm a chance to defend itself against an overpowering force. The elder gods, the the beings that the guardians of this world, the guardians of the universe for this world, have come to this agreement that this is, even though Outworld would stomp on Earth if given the chance, they protect them by saying, look, you have a chance to defend yourself and you bring your best fighters together. And Liu Kang can throw fireballs because Liu Kang is a mystic and he figures out how to tap into some unknown source. Like, you don't have to explain it with arcana. Like, Kano doesn't have to have heat vision. Like, just make Kano have a robot eye like that. The changes they made just seem to be made just for the sake of making a change.
Hmm.
They didn't seem like they had, unless they were like, if we do Arcana, then we can do whatever we want. We don't have to explain Kano's robotic eye or whatever. But I don't know. The whole thing. I was just kind of left scratching my head, like, what did I? Why did they even do this movie?
Yeah, I don't know.
So
When I was watching Jeremy Johns talk about it too, he was kind of complaining about the same stuff we are right now with the Arcana thing. And his theory about it was just that, like, they did it from maybe budgetary constraints. Because like, having Kano have a robot eye the whole time maybe would have just cost too much
CGI
time
the
and
whole
money.
time.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
and it makes sense, I guess, but
I thought for sure when Reptile attacked in his eye, I thought he was gonna, like, either spit something on his eye
yeah.
or that the claw marks were gonna poison his eye, and that's how he was gonna get his eye. And then he ends up just getting heat vision. I was like, "What?" Um, and then the other thing, and then it's, all these things are probably not, I mean, yeah, that, like you said in your review, the fight scenes were cool, but like Goro, I'm sorry, but when I was a kid, man, coming up, Goro was like, "Oh crap!" You get to the end of Mortal Kombat, and you go up against Goro, you're like, "Oh my god, this dude!" Like, even more than Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung was cool and whatever. I know he's the last guy you fight, and he sucks your soul or whatever. But Goro was like, "Oh my god, how am I going to beat this guy? It's huge, dude. He's got 4 arms. This dude's crazy." Um, and new guy Cole, who can't even win a, backroom brawl fight,
Right.
MMA fight, he kills Goro. And I was
Mhm.
just like, I was like, okay, sure, I guess.
Well,
It's
and
just
they made
whatever.
even a big deal like Shang Tsung, like Prince Goro, like they made him out
Yeah,
to be a big deal, but then they like just send him off to kill Cole. It's like
yeah.
that's all he does. Like you just like turn him into like a little henchman. It's like he's you said it yourself. He's Prince Goro.
And then Raiden, like, at one point they ask, like, when they're trying to set up, like, the end of the movie, like, "How are we gonna take out all Shang Tsung's guys?" Like, whatever, and then they're like, "Raiden, you can teleport people anywhere," and so Raiden just starts teleporting the bad guys, not the good guys to the bad guys, but the bad guys to where the good guys want them, like, why didn't Raiden just teleport them away then when they came and attacked the temple in the first place? Like,
Yeah,
there was
that's a good
stuff that,
point. Why don't you
like,
just
I
send
was
their ass
just
back to Outworld? Like every time they
exactly,
come, just like goodbye.
send them, like, to, an island in the middle of the ocean that they
Throw them
have
in the
no way to get
sun.
exactly,
Hmm,
like, there was stuff that happened, I was just like, "Oh, man, I want" like, I'm glad I didn't go spend the money to see it at the theater, and I kinda
yeah.
want my 2 hours back.
See, I liked some stuff in the movie though. Like I want to see more in it. I just hope they get like better writing more than anything. Have like a more concise story. Like maybe honestly, having a tournament would have been a little bit easier for them to tell a story because then you're in the confines of like okay, there's a tournament or tell a story around
Yeah,
the tournament. So maybe it could have even been better at that point. But I'm
yeah.
hoping they do make more because I'd like to give them a chance to, like, kinda correct it because, like, I liked everybody who played the characters, and I thought, like, the characters for what we got from them were fine, but
Acting was
just need more.
pretty good, the special effects were really good, I
For yeah,
thought.
for what
Um,
they were good.
fight scenes were cool, but, like, it's everything else or like, don't have a story, don't try and give all these motivations and just make it an over the top action movie if you're gonna do that. But if you're gonna try and work this story stuff into it, then take the time to actually do it right. Don't just cobble it together and do it half-assed, which is really how it felt like it came across to me.
Right. Well, before we move on here, since Rick hasn't seen it yet, and he's just been patiently waiting over there. Rick, you hear us talk about. You've heard me talk about this movie twice now. Now you get John's vibe on it. Like, do you have any intent on wanting to actually like see this movie now? Do you still want to give it a chance? Like, what are you thinking here?
No.
No.
Honestly, after hearing John's review especially, I mean, everything you mentioned, it just sounds like a shitstorm to me, and I just don't really see myself, like, dedicating the time to sitting down and watching it after hearing about just all the, like, plot holes and all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, like, if I were you, if you're, like, doing something else, if you're, like, working on your helmet or you're, cleaning up around the house or something, like, you can throw it on and have it on in the background and, like, stop for the fight scenes just to see the cool fight scenes,
Yeah,
but that's about as far as I would go as far as recommending it to someone, like,
yeah, it
if you
just
wanna see some cool fight scenes, then yeah, maybe go ahead and pause and do whatever, but I mean, Jax at one point literally grows metal out of nowhere, like
It's the Arcana thing. It's just it was lazy, man.
that does
yeah,
sound like lazy writing.
Yeah, because like they give him, and this is the other thing that doesn't make sense with his arms. Like they're
give him
randomly
metal
in this temple, but these little, like, monk dudes, there's no, like, equipment in the room,
technology, yeah,
and, like, somehow, like, these little monk dudes are, like, trying to pretty much keep him alive and work on him, and then 10 minutes later, they cut back to him, and he's got these little robot arms on him, and they're just, like, little
yeah,
dainty looking things, and it's like, where do you even get the stuff to even do this? You're just in a freaking temple, he's laying on, like, a rock, like
so you're telling me basically in that like, that scene, like, if you play it out logically, if Jax never goes up against Sub-Zero in the first place and his Arcana kicks in naturally, what, his arms would have, like,
yeah, what
fallen
happened?
off and metal would have grown there?
Or would have
Like,
been armor or something, like
yeah, like, or if they had never put his robot arms on at the temple, would he still have just grown metal, like, out of like, the logic that they used just didn't the Arcana thing is really such a strange addition, like, I don't know.
Outside
there are
Ugh,
ways they could have done it that would have been better.
yeah,
outside of the
definitely.
fight scenes, it just doesn't sound like good at all.
Well,
No,
it's not, really, it's not. Like, the story, the plot is, like, it's not good. There's, like, a lot of plot hole scenarios, like, things that just don't make sense, but, like, I will stand by the fact that, like, The characters for the most part were good. It was acted good. You just didn't get enough. You didn't care about the characters was the only problem. Like Kano was cool, and then Jax and Sonya were cool, but then Cole's your main character, and you just don't really care.
Yeah.
Like I cared more about Kano, Jax, and Sonya than I did about Cole, and the movie's like kind of centered around Cole. So
Mhm.
that's the worst part about the movie. Not that like the Cole character's bad or the guy who played him bad. He was fine. Because they didn't give him anything to really work with. Like it was just kind of
Yeah.
like a boring character for the most part. Either way, we spent enough time talking about it. So, guys,
Yeah,
again,
sorry.
yeah, no, you're good. If you now that you've heard us talk about Mortal Kombat twice now, what do you think about it? Do you agree with us? Do you think it was good? Do you think there were some redeeming qualities? Are you excited to see more in this universe? Just let us know down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So with that down and out of the way, we're going to get into our main topics here today. So before we do, though, do not forget that you can submit topics and questions to the show here for us to address and discuss and what have you, just by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Also, the collectible reviews, most recent one was the Punisher War Machine armor figure. That is up on the channel now. It's an awesome piece. Highly recommend it. Go watch the review, like it, do all that fun stuff with it. And then every Friday we do our live streams where we just did some unboxings there. So those little stream highlights are on the channel as well. You can go check those out. It was the Hot Toys Kylo Ren and the Sideshow Han Solo and Carbonite, the 6 scale. It was kind of like a statue more than a figure, but it's on there. So go check that out. But we're gonna get into these topics now. So the first one, like I said, we got some like DC stuff, some Marvel stuff to talk about. So we're gonna jump into this DC stuff first. It's kind of you could say the biggest of the news in a lot of ways, but really, I don't know. We'll get into it here. The first little tidbit here we're going to talk about is DC Fandome is coming back, and we're going to kind of go through some things. What we can expect from there, what we'd like to see, and I was going to make a whole list of like what we can expect, and then I found Screen Rant kind of already posted something like very similar to what I was going to make. So I'm going to use little Andy Beck Beck I can't what is this name?
I don't know. I was
Bebecott?
thinking that too.
Bebcott?
Bebecott?
Bebecott? I'm gonna use his little article here though, because he's got everything that I was gonna do pretty much on it already. So DC Fandome is coming back. It's coming back in October. What day is it coming back? Do you remember off the top of your head, John? It's like the 16th, I think.
Yeah, it's the middle of the month.
Either way. But there's some stuff here that I'm looking forward to seeing more so than anything. Because at this point in time, as you see just from this picture here, Black Adam's filming now. So that's probably surprisingly when they did DC Fandome last year, the Black Adam stuff was actually the stuff that got me most excited, in all honesty. Even despite the Batman trailer that played at the end, which was it was a great little trailer. Like I'm super excited to see that movie as well. But I just didn't we knew nothing about Black Adam, and like what they were gonna do with it. We just knew The Rock was attached to it, and that was it. But they're gonna be bringing the JSA in, more importantly, Dr. Fate in, and we got Pierce Brosnan playing Dr. Fate. So like I'm super stoked for that. So like they're filming Black Adam now. So we're gonna more than likely have at least some footage, or at least pictures, I guess, and then hopefully some footage. Maybe they could cobble together a trailer in the vein of like what the Batman did, because if you remember, they said that they had only filmed about 25% of the Batman movie at the time they made that trailer, and they were still able to put together a pretty damn good trailer. So I have high hopes to see some stuff from Black Adam. And then we also obviously at this time they're pretty much done with production on the Batman, so we're gonna get another Batman trailer. So that's gonna be exciting. Hopefully, the one thing I would say about Fandome that they kind of like could have used some improvement on, because the event overall I thought was really good. They had some really good stuff in there. I would like to see some more panels, some actual true panels. So they had a couple like pre-recorded things like with the Wonder Woman 84 cast. It's like some stuff there, and it was fine. But I'd like to see a more true panel. Like if they could get everybody, like all the main cast of some of these films in a room, go somewhere where they can actually get fans in a room together, like a Hall H kind of thing, and do a true panel. I'd like to see some of that. So hopefully they can get something like that together for at least some things. That would be good. But we got the Batman, we got Black Adam, like I said. just like Black Adam, The Flash has finally started filming as well. So hopefully we'll have some good stuff about that. It's going to be both of them kind of just started, but like I said, this is in October, so this gives them like a solid 4 months of filming. Most movies, honestly, they normally shoot in about 6 months anyway. So they should more than likely, I would be willing to bet that we're going to have some footage from both The Flash and Black Adam at this point. Then we got some Aquaman 2 stuff that could more than likely potentially be done. We've had Jason Momoa and Amber Heard posting some stuff about it to begin with, so I'm sure we'll have some more details about that. Then Shazam 2, we'll definitely have some new news about that because they gave us the title last year. So hopefully, I can't remember if this is in production yet, Fury of the Gods, but we've had some recent announcements with like Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu are playing like the villains in the film. They're playing like sisters, Hespera and Calypso. So I'm sure we'll have some more stuff about that. And then there's some animated stuff and then Arrowverse stuff potentially, which I've kind of lost interest in. But I'll tell you what, the Superman show, which is kind of disconnected from the Arrowverse, I've been pleasantly surprised with. So it's actually a pretty damn good show. So I'd like to see if maybe some announcements about that. Peacemaker spin-off from James Gunn's Suicide Squad coming up. So we'll probably when Suicide Squad come out? Doesn't that come out?
It comes in August. It'll be out already.
Yeah, so we'll have that would have been out already. The follow-up or continuation of Young Justice, we'll probably get some stuff about that. Those are pretty much the big ones, and then they add on, like, hopefully a 20th anniversary reunion panel for Smallville, which that would be pretty cool too. So, guys, of all the stuff I just broke down here, like, what are you looking forward to? Anything stand out to you that we're probably gonna get? Let's go with Rick here. What is there anything that has you excited in this upcoming DC slate?
I would say the Batman probably more than anything, just because the trailer was so good. And like you said, to me, it's kind of crazy that, with it only being 25% shot at the time, that they were able to cobble together such a good trailer. I mean, that really gives me high hopes and anticipation. Like it builds my anticipation for the movie. But Black Adam, only because it's been talked about for so long, you know. We'll see if that's good or not. I'm not the biggest Dwayne the Rock Johnson fan, but that doesn't mean it won't be a good movie.
Heresy.
But yeah, I mean, I think the Batman's probably the one thing I'm more excited for than anything. I really want to see how this Riddler character turns out. You know what I mean? Like, he's so mysterious in the trailer, and you hear his voice and all that. But like, I don't know. It's like, remember back in the day when you and I, when The Dark Knight was getting ready to come out, we were just hyped on it. Like the Joker, all that sort of stuff. It's sort of that same sort of thing for me. Like, and I'm not
Yeah.
even the biggest Batman fan, but I just think they really did good with the trailer, and I got high hopes.
Dude, speaking of funny you brought up the Dark Knight and stuff, because I just remembered that I actually had a dream. This is no joke. I think it was just this overnight here, but I had a dream and I woke up in the dream and remembered the dream. So this was like Inception. It was like a dream within a dream, but it was about Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale making another Batman movie, and Bane was like back, but he was actually like Bane. Like they brought Tom Hardy back to play Bane, but he was like Bane, like big old Bane.
Yeah.
I don't know why I had, and this is literally like I was sleeping in the dream, and I woke up from that dream and thought it was cool. Like I was like, man, I actually am kind of like I didn't really care about them ever doing more, Christian Bale Batman, but like this actually looks pretty cool. Like this looks good. Like
It's a
I
very
don't know.
specific thing to dream about.
It was. It was. Like, it's honestly like kind of weird that I just remembered it like it was yesterday.
Well, I remember back in the day we were working at washing dishes back in high school, and you got like the text or call from your aunt that Heath Ledger had passed away, and it was like,
that
oh my
was
God.
that was not a good time.
Yeah.
That sucked. But John, what from this DC Fandom event are you looking forward to announcement wise? What do you hope to see? Did you like the event last year? Where are you at with it?
Yeah, I love the event last year. Like, I have the wrong shirt on. I actually bought one of the shirts that's branded. I usually don't buy like convention branded shirts just because I'm like, whatever. But they had a cool convention shirt from it, or whatever virtual convention. Um, but yeah, I love the event. I thought it was great. I mean, and then obviously we've talked about it. We talked about it on our show. If people want to go back and see it, from all those many months back, but they ended it the right way. They ended it with a bang, the Batman trailer being released, which was amazing. Um, but as far as the upcoming one, I mean, obviously I'll watch it and I'll be excited to see the new Batman stuff. There's a part of me that's like, I'm so like, you've got me. You hyped me up with that trailer. Like they had me anyway, but like you gave me the tease I wanted with that last trailer. Like I'm not sure I really need to see anything. Like I feel like that movie might need to be seen without any more knowledge of it. Which isn't going to happen. It's unrealistic. That's not the way movies are marketed. So it's fine. It is what it is. To be honest, what I'm most looking forward to are the things that we just don't know about yet. I mean, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Kevin something that's the head of DC now.
Well, Kevin Sujihara was the old one, but now it's Walter Amada.
I'm sorry, Walter Amada. That's right. I wasn't updated. Walter Amada. He talked about having 3 to 4 DC movies every year, maybe even 5 every year, but then also, another 4 or 5 HBO Max series and movies possibly in production. So I mean, we were looking at like close to maybe even, I mean, at the high end, close to a new DC thing every month, if not a new DC thing every couple months. And so I'm really curious if that plan is going to hold and if we're going to get like a nice kind of deluge of information on projects we just have no idea about. Maybe some HBO Max series, um, you know, stuff like that that we just don't have anything. I think that's what I'm most anticipating for is the stuff that we can't even guess at now. But definitely a Shazam trailer, a Black Adam trailer would be amazing. So we'll see, but they gotta save. That's one of the things about these companies is that as much as it makes sense, it would make sense for them to drop a Shazam trailer. Oh, did it happen again? Oh my goodness! As much as it would make sense for them to drop a Black Adam trailer and then drop a Shazam trailer and drop a Batman trailer and a Green Lantern. They like to have people talking about their their products. I'm gonna call them products, their movies and shows at other points in the year. So they won't drop everything all at once. It just doesn't make they'll control the news cycle no matter what they drop. So I don't think they'll drop everything at once. So I'm curious how they'll piecemeal that out too.
Well, yeah, and like you were saying, with the whole 5 projects a year thing, in 2022 alone, we're gonna have Black Adam, the Batman, Aquaman 2, Super Pets, and The Flash. So that's 5 things DC related that are all dropping next year. But this year we only really have Suicide Squad. That's pretty much all we have. But then there's like a couple other things that Screen Rant didn't have on like their list that we'll probably get some more information on too because they just recently announced the Blue Beetle movie that's being developed, and
That's
then
right.
Static Shock with like Michael B. Jordan producing like that might be like one of those HBO Max releases, the Static Shock thing, like because there's still very little information on both those two things. So I'm sure we'll definitely have more details about that because they even had like the Static Shock little panel for the comic company itself who actually makes them. I forget who it was, but they were talking about like they're back now in general. Static was going to be, they're developing a movie for it. So
Oh, Milestone, the imprint.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll get more of that.
If I have to put money on it, my bet for the trailer, like, because I honestly don't think we'll get trailers for everything. I think they may drop a Black Adam trailer in August with Suicide Squad, depending on how far along they are. Um, I don't know what I guess I need to see those release dates and see what's coming next. But if I had to guess, my money would be on that we get a Flash trailer. And that in that Flash trailer, you have a shot of Michael Keaton's Batman as well as um Ben Affleck and possibly Christian Bale if they get him to come back for a cameo in it too.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one
Just
better than a
because of the
trailer.
pure hype that would come up for that.
A panel with the Batmans on it. is what I'd rather see. I want to see Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton
Yeah.
there talking about it with Andy Muschietti and Ezra Miller just talking about it. Like, I'd
Yeah.
like to see that. Like, maybe even have a surprise, if they can get Christian Bale back, do the reveal on that panel. And then, like, if they're going to bring Jeffrey Dean Morgan back to play Thomas Wayne, do the reveal on that panel. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
pretty
that'd be
cool.
cool.
So I'm down with that. But it looks like Batman's the first one we're going to get in 2022, then Black Adam.
Yeah. So see, I think Black Adam's not even till July though. So
Oh, no,
if
Black Adam, yeah.
if they drop a trailer with Suicide Squad for Black Adam, it's still a year out. That might be a little early for a trailer. I don't know. Although, we got the Batman trailer and that's going
Yeah.
to be over a year and a half out. So who knows?
Well, I mean, that makes sense though, because they were doing it on the Fandome event, to bring
Sure.
so it would make sense for them either way. Like, I could see them doing the Black Adam trailer for Suicide Squad, but I could also see them just waiting the month or so to do it on the Fandome day instead.
Yeah.
Like, just to bring more hype to Fandome itself. So
Honestly,
knows?
as excited as I am about all the movie stuff too, I'm super excited about Young Justice. I really hope that Young Justice gets some play at Fandom and that we get at least a date of when it's coming back because that's the series that always lives up to the quality no matter what, like or the expectations. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we will too. So, but guys, the question is, are you excited for DC Fandome? Did you like the event last year? Is there some stuff that you're hoping to see? Kind of like I mainly just want to see some panels, some actual panels. Live panels would be better, but even if they had to pre-record them, just get them in a room with an actual audience at the very least, so it's more of a just a true panel. You know what I mean? Like that was the one thing I think they were missing out on with like the whole event, because everything else they did was like really cool. Like when they went through and did the whole thing with like all the Batmans from around the world, like the animated voices for Batman, that was cool. If they do some more stuff like that, that's fine. I really liked when Walter Amada was on there talking about like what his vision is for DC at this point. So like I'd like more of that. Then obviously we'll get trailers and stuff like that. That's a given. So in the end, I'd like to see some of those little additions there, and then I think I hope they continue to do the event. So, but let us know what you think about this new DC Fandome upcoming here in October down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our second main topic here is going to be a combination of like two things. And one of them's a little bit smaller one, but we just recently had an announcement about the Green Lantern series. So that's like they kind of like with Black Adam, they announced this Green Lantern series. I think around the time Justice League was in development, if I'm not mistaken. That's when like we first got word that like they're going to be doing it. Like one was in talks to happen, and then around the time HBO Max was like gearing up to be launched, it was kind of confirmed that they were going to be doing the Green Lantern series called Green Lantern Corps for HBO Max, and there's been pretty much radio silence pretty much ever since then. So we haven't really had any Green Lantern information since the announcement back around the time HBO Max still hadn't come out yet. This was before HBO Max even launched. They said that this is going to be something that we're developing for HBO Max and Green Lantern Corps. And we got our first bit of casting information for it. And it's more interesting, and it's kind of an oddball choice, more so than you would really think initially. You think it'd be, we got our Hal Jordan, or we got our Jon Stewart, or even our Alan Scott, or Kilowog, something like that, some big name thing. Not that Guy Gardner is not a big name, but that's our first casting announcement for the show in general, is that they found their Guy Gardner. And it's going to be played by Finn Wittrock. The only thing I ever saw him in was I think the season of American Horror Story that Lady Gaga was in. I like Lady Gaga, so that was obviously the only reason I even watched that season for it, because I kind of fell off the American Horror Story bandwagon after the witch one. I think it was called Coven. Granted, honestly, I can't remember the order of everything, but I think that was season 3, and then the one with Lady Gaga may have been season 4, so that was probably the last one I watched, I might be wrong about that. Who cares about that, though? But realistically, that was the only thing I've ever really seen him in. So he was okay in that show. He wasn't playing like a very Guy Gardner-esque person, so like I'm sure he's good. Like they obviously would have vetted him in some ways. I'm pretty sure he's been nominated for some Emmys and some other things. So it's never a bad thing to add talent, and I'm sure this dude's talented and can do the part. He obviously knocked some stuff out in like audition processes and things like that. I just find it more interesting that it's Guy Gardner so far, because we haven't had really any confirmation as to what this show is actually going to be about. I think we've had some news like come out in the past that suggested that it wasn't going to be following Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart, which I always thought was a very odd choice, because for like 90% of humanity, Hal Jordan or Jon Stewart is Green Lantern. So it's kind of odd, even if they didn't come first. Like that's who everybody's, because like we got word. I'm pretty sure they said that like Alan Scott's going to make an appearance in here. It almost sounds like they're going to be doing like sort of an anthology series. In all honesty, I don't know that for sure, but if they're going to have Alan Scott and like Guy Gardner and maybe John and Hal, I don't know. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. I kind of have always speculated that if the show's not going to focus on John and Hal, that maybe the show is about like Guy Gardner and the other Green Lanterns like trying to find them because they're missing or something. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. And the other little tidbit here of news here is we got the aforementioned Flash movie we were just talking about for the DC Fandome event. We have some set photos. Now, I've said forever that like until I see set photos and everything, I don't believe this movie's actually happening. But I guess we got our first set photos, and it's of the Wayne Manor, which is pretty cool. And this is supposed to be Keaton Batman's Wayne Manor. It's been so long since I've seen any of the Keaton films, in all honesty, that I cannot confirm nor deny if this is actually Keaton Manor, but that's what the reports were saying. I'm going to go with what the reports are saying, but it looks cool. It doesn't look like Ben's, Batfleck's Wayne Manor. So we're going to have to go out on a limb and say this is definitely Keaton Manor. It looks cool. I'm very cool. It's going to be fun to see him. Like I said, I'm more excited just to see, even though it's Flash movie, I'm kind of more excited in a lot of ways just to see the Batman stuff in it, because Batman is my favorite DC character. No surprise by any means, but Rik, Jon, you guys see this? What do you think's more interesting here? This Green Lantern news, this like this picture of the Wayne Manor. What's got you excited here?
Who is Guy Gardner? Like, I know that sounds incredibly ignorant, but like, is he that red-haired guy?
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy who's on the screen with him. Yeah,
yeah.
The dude with the red hair bowl cut.
He looks evil.
Well, he's kind of like a douche.
Oh,
like he's kind of like he's imagine like a Boston dickhead, like a Mark Wahlberg kind of cocky, like douchey kind of dude. But like you like him, and he's a good guy. He's just kind of a douche.
He's very arrogant.
Yeah.
He's like the high school bully of the DC universe.
He looks like that.
That's pretty much. It's a good representation.
It really is.
Yeah. Which to me makes this casting. I mean, I've never seen this kid in anything that they cast. So he may be a great actor. He may have a lot of range to him or whatever. But like, that is not the headshot you go with when you announce this news. Like, he looks like a pretty boy there, and Guy Gardner isn't a pretty boy. Guy Gardner is the guy making fun of the pretty boys and like giving them a hard time and stuff. So very interesting casting choice here with this, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm very curious to see where they're going with this.
I'm trying to see. I saw a picture of him a while ago where he had a little bit of longer hair.
Not the same haircut as that
Guy Gardner has longer hair, but like, this was supposed to be a much bigger picture. Here, we'll just do this. If they keep him with like this kind of hair, I don't know. Maybe I'm more curious about if they're gonna dye it orange, or if they're just gonna like not dye it orange. And keep him just like a brown-haired dude. Just because, unlike Rik here, who thinks that freaking the eye color of people is important when they're playing a character, it doesn't matter if he has orange hair or not. Like, unless the story is going to be centered around people making fun of him for being a ginger, then there's absolutely no reason his hair will need to be orange.
Eye color totally matters in some cases.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Give me one reason where it matters.
Because I know what you're talking about is the Ezra Bridger thing. Yeah. He's got bright blue eyes. Like, that's a notable feature.
What does that have to do with any story or plot or anything following Ezra Bridger as a character?
It doesn't, but they did it with Ahsoka.
Exactly. What?
They did it with Ahsoka. Like, she had crazy blue eyes.
Yeah.
And it just looked good, but
but you were saying that, like, when we were talking about the kid who is going to potentially be playing him, I forget his name. You commented like, "Well, his eyes aren't whatever color," and it's like, if they really wanted him to have that eye color, they could make him have that eye color.
Well, yeah,
It doesn't matter that he doesn't have the
No,
eye
I didn't mean it
color.
like that. I just hope that they'd like give him that eye color because that's a notable feature. I think no different than the Guy Gardner with like the red hair. You know,
Yeah, I don't care.
But-
Bane being a big ass dude who injects venom in him is a notable feature of Bane, and they didn't make him that way in the Nolan movie. You know?
no, they didn't really explain anything with that.
No, not really. So, but yeah, what do you think about the Wayne Manor? I know, John, you're the foremost '89 Batman fan here. So,
Yeah,
What-
definitely.
you
I mean,
excited
that's
seeing that?
straight. That hits me straight in the feels. Those pictures right there, because that if that's not the exact same manner that they used in the first one, then I don't even know what to say. I mean, I think that looks exactly like how I remember the manor from '89 Batman, and I love that movie. So that makes me super excited for this is again one of those things where I'm getting really excited for this, but I'm also trying to keep in the back of my mind, this is a Flash movie. Like, this manor may be on the scene for 30 seconds. It may be the Flash popping into the manor just to say, now maybe more of it will take place. I mean, based off the Flashpoint comic book, so there are some things that happen at Wayne Manor that require them to be there a little longer. So maybe they will spend a nice chunk of the movie here. But I hope they do. I hope it's not just a quick like pop in, like, oh yeah, by the way, remember this, and then they're gone.
You kidding me? Why you have this photo album on your site, but then you like password protect the image viewer? But yeah, it does. That's exactly pretty much it. It looks like. I mean, that's like spot on. That's too much. Too far back. We got
Yeah,
that.
that's close.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Could be a different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally it. It had like the round dome things on the front.
Definitely
Yep.
a manor.
That's definitely it. Yeah, that's definitely it. They're making it. So that's definitely.
Yeah.
I will confidently say and agree with the article that is going to be the '89 Batman Manor. So the only thing
Yeah,
that's
so
weird is
that's
I'm curious what they're
awesome.
doing with this because of the multiple Batmans in it, but no announcement of Thomas Wayne with it being a Flashpoint movie. You know, because or a Flashpoint-esque movie. You know, because
Yeah.
it's interesting that they're gonna have Batfleck in it, which the current timeline Batman really didn't play a part in Flashpoint till the end of the story. Like after Flash was there, after he gets back, he explains to Bruce everything that kind of happens because it would mean something to Bruce that he was there with his dad and everything. So I don't know. I find that kind of interesting. And then
Well,
they're going to have Keaton Batman in it and not Thomas Wayne Batman.
yeah, I have a feeling that Affleck's appearance will be prior to. I mean, if everything that we're hearing from Warner Brothers and sources that are reporting on Warner Brothers is correct, if they are truly moving away from the Snyderverse stuff, if Ben is done playing the character of Batman, then I have a feeling that Barry Ezra Miller's character goes to Ben Affleck's Batman and says, like, look, you lost a parent, I lost a parent. Maybe there's some connection, and Bruce like gives him the idea that maybe he could go back and save his mom or something. I don't know. I feel like the Ben Affleck part of that would be at the beginning of the movie, and then the movie would be Barry undoing or causing a ripple in the time stream or a ripple in the multiverse that then he crosses over to Keaton's universe, and Keaton's Batman takes on the Thomas Wayne, and that they don't do a direct adaptation of Flashpoint. They just take the idea of Flash going back to save his mom, waking up and realizing that the world's gone different. And so when he goes to Batman, and once he's changed the world, it's no longer Ben Affleck's Batman, it's Michael Keaton's Batman,
Right.
and then playing it out from there.
I'm just hoping when he shows up in that manner, it's not just Keaton Batman, but there's like a Terry McGinnis guy in the cave with him. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping more than
Mhm.
anything. Like, I want that more than anything. And I know, like you said, it's a Flash movie, but because of all the Batman stuff in it, I just keep thinking about the Batman stuff.
That's all it
Yeah.
seems like. It's all Batman
We
news.
haven't even got information about Zoom. Like, you know what I mean?
I Well, and that's
it's
the
a
part of
Flash
this
movie, man.
that's the whole part of this thing that's getting little I'm a little worried about is, like, they've got to introduce a villain, I'm assuming, maybe not, maybe they don't feel like they need to, but I would think you'd have to introduce a villain. I mean, I don't think that they can rely on the fact that everybody watched the CW Flash show to know who, the Reverse Flash is, but we'll
They
see.
could
I
leave
you
that
know
part out, I guess, because they like you said, they could just focus on the changes that occur by Barry going back and, presumably saving his mother. And then,
Yeah.
he wakes up and it's Keaton Batman, and maybe just like in Flashpoint, they're stuck between the Amazonian and Atlantean war. Maybe there's something else like that going on, like just some global incident. And like there's not like a villain per se, but the villain is him having to like change what he did, you know?
Mhm.
Like he really messed some stuff up here, and like this is gonna focus on like that kind of stuff, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it
Yeah,
kind of would make more sense for Zoom to be involved somehow, but
I'm
For
not sure
sure.
I ever completed my thought, but so I think that Ben Affleck will have something to do at the beginning, but by the time you get to the end of the movie, you won't get another appearance by Affleck's Batman because he will have been erased or whatever, or Barry will be in a different world at that point
right,
that doesn't include him.
yeah. That's the way I see. I'm excited for it either way, just because it is so interesting, and it's the fact
Mm,
that it's taken so long for them to get it going. I hope they can like because they've taken so much time that the movie's actually good.
True.
Like
yeah.
above all, like the Batman stuff's gonna be cool, hopefully, and all that stuff. But like they've been working on this thing, gone through like 18 different directors and 10 different writers, and like it's finally happening. So I just hope it's good after all this.
I
That's
I'll
it.
say this too, like, this is pretty far down, like, Batman is my favorite DC character, Flash is in my top 5. And yet this movie is way down like, I didn't like Flashpoint, the series, like the comic book series. So, when they talk about I know it has a, historical place in the DC universe because of the resulting New 52 that came out of it and the relaunch of everything, but I didn't like the story to begin with, and then I really didn't like the New 52. So, there's nothing about Flashpoint or that story that makes me excited about this adaptation. I hope that they make drastic changes from what they did in the comic.
It seems like they are. I mean,
Yeah.
like without a doubt, because like I said, there's been no mention of Zoom, no Atlantean War stuff and
Yeah,
Amazonian
no
War stuff.
Gal Gadot, no
Yeah, no Thomas
Jason Momoa.
Wayne. I mean, and all this
Yeah,
stuff could happen, but there's been no announcement of it. Just the very fact
yeah.
that like there's a different Bruce Wayne Batman is kind of. I mean, technically speaking, I guess we have never been told that he's playing Bruce Wayne. I guess that hasn't actually been confirmed. They've just said Keaton's gonna be in it, so everyone's assuming he's playing Bruce Wayne. They could be pulling a fast one on everybody and saying that he's actually playing Ben Affleck's father, Thomas Wayne,
That's true.
you know? You never know, though. Why wouldn't they get Jeffrey Dean Morgan to do that? I have no idea, but you never know. Like, who the hell knows?
I would be willing to put like $1,000,000 on the fact that they're not doing that just because we have these set photos now. Why would they go back to the '89 Batman?
Yeah, that's true. Just for more fan
Yeah.
service kinda stuff,
That's
like
true.
Easter eggy kinda things. Like, I don't know, I would make less sense to me to do that, but, like, honestly,
I
who the
think
hell
the
knows?
first weekend that movie comes out and the word gets out that Michael Keaton is not playing Batman, that he's playing Thomas Wayne, everybody would be like, "What? That's dumb," and they would tank their box office the rest of the way. I don't know.
Probably. I don't think it'd be a good decision, but, like, but at the same time, it doesn't
The WB doesn't make good decisions, so yeah.
exactly, so, like, I'm not it could be anything, like, that's why, like,
True.
above all, I
Yeah,
just hope it's
maybe
good.
we're coming at this from the side of rationality. Let's come
Mhm.
up with the most absurd, dumbest ideas that we can come up with, because that's probably where we'll be more likely to hit on stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, this movie's gone through like not only has it just been in like development hell for the most part, but it's gone through a lot of different iterations because there's been so many different writers on it. And it kind of started out as being a Flash cyborg buddy cop kind of movie. That's not happening at all because
Yeah.
like now it's then it turned into being Flashpoint, but like now it's not even really Flashpoint. So who knows? I'm curious to see where the hell it goes though, and like again, I just hope it's good. I don't care what they do in it as long as it's good.
Right.
Unlike Mortal Kombat, you know what I mean? Where it's like I wanted some good fights in it and I got that, but it wasn't good. Like, you know what I mean? So that's where I just hope that is. So, question is though, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited that we're getting the '89 Batman Wayne Manor in there? So, like, seemingly, like John said, confirming that Michael Keaton is indeed playing his Bruce Wayne. I think maybe now I'm thinking about it, maybe they have said that, but I might be confusing it with Alfred Molina saying that he is playing Doc Ock from that movie. So I might be mistaken, but I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head right now if it's actually been 100% confirmed that he is playing '89 Batman Bruce Wayne. I think it may have. It probably has. Either way, I'm sure I'll get corrected down in the comments regardless. So, but let us know what you think about this and then the Guy Gardner casting and not any Hal Jordan news or anything like that down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our third topic here is going to shoot us over into the Marvel universe now that we've left the DC news. Now we're in the Marvel news world. And the first thing we got is the upcoming Hawkeye Disney Plus series. Is like, I think it's almost done in production at this point. We had some set photos from a while back that showed Haley Steinfeld, um, not really in costume or anything, but it showed her on set there with the dog from which we were assuming is the dog from one of the more recent Hawkeye runs in the comics. And then Jeremy Renner himself has just shared a new photo from set of him in a very much more comet accurate Hawkeye costume, which is kind of cool for anybody out there who's been, wanting to see Hawkeye in a more, even any characters really. It seems like with the Disney Plus series, for whatever, and I'm just pulling the Disney Plus series out of the hat right now because it's the three that have primarily done it as of late. But we've gotten Wanda in her like pretty much true rendition of the Scarlet Witch costume, and then spoilers for Falcon and Winter Soldier here briefly. We got Sam in like the 100% comic accurate Captain America Falcon costume, and then now we got Hawkeye here in the most accurate representation of Hawkeye from the comics. I mean, as you can see, I just grabbed this one picture. This is just like a T-shirt one of him, but it has the purple little arrow on it, which is like Hawkeye's had a number of different costumes. Like, I hope they don't do a little freaking headpiece on him though. Like, that thing, I don't ever see him doing that in the comics. But granted, there was a time where I'm sure a lot of people never would have thought Wanda would have had the crown thing on either, but they pulled that off. So I just don't really see a reason that Hawkeye would wear the mask plate since he's never worn that to hide his identity in any of these other movies. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we got this, which is pretty cool. And then we have another one. We got some shots of Kamala Khan here, which again, and a very comic accurate costume here. And there's like quite a few pictures of this coming out here on her on set here. So this all looks pretty cool. And like I said, Marvel seems to be like Marvel's always done a pretty good job of making their costumes be fairly comic book accurate for the most part. But it seems like with these Disney Plus shows, I don't know, they're just making it almost seems like they're making it more of a point. You know what I mean? Am I alone on that? Would you guys agree with me on that? That like, at least as of late in the Disney Plus shows, all the suits have been like very accurate representations.
Oh yeah.
Like, so it's just kind of cool. Like because I didn't even know she would have her costume in this, since it's like they classically do these introduction stories, these origin stories, and you don't get the costume until the end of the series. You know what I mean? But like she's got her costume because they have to explain how she got her powers. I highly doubt they're going to say that she's an Inhuman. So who the hell knows what they're going to say? Just based on the whole Inhuman fiasco, I don't think Kevin Feige's going to want to have any correlation to that Inhuman stuff. But who knows? Maybe he will redo it. I don't know. I'm actually more curious to see if that's what they're going to do. How are they going to explain her powers and her origin in this? Is something I'm actually interested to see. But what do you guys think of these photos here?
What's the Inhuman thing?
Inhumans?
Yeah.
Well, the Inhumans is like a group of characters in the comics where they got their powers in a very different way than like mutants and other metahuman kind of stuff. There's like these, I forget what they call them, but they're like these husks or something. Like
It's
something
bas it's basically alien genetic manipulation. There's an alien species that genetically leaves a substance on Earth that genetically alters humans and gives them powers. So it's genetic manipulation by an alien species that does it. But they did a Inhuman TV show pilot, and the Inhumans were also a plot point on the Agents of Shield show that ran on ABC for a number of years. Um, and the Inhuman plot or pilot that they did was released to some pretty terrible reviews.
Oh, it wasn't just a
And
pilot, it was the whole series.
did they actually run the series? I thought they
Oh,
just
yeah.
did the I forgot that they released the whole series. It only ran for one season, and
It was awful.
it wasn't good. Apparently, I never watched it
Dude,
because
it was so bad. It was so bad. It was
so
ooh, ooh, ooh.
so I think Rob was referencing the fact that they probably don't want to associate with that. Although I don't think Kevin Feige, I think Kevin Feige would be perfectly fine using Inhumans and just saying, when somebody questions them about it in a press tour, just saying, "Oh yeah, we don't consider that canon," and like shuffling it
Yeah.
off to the side because they really don't. Even though Clark Gregg was in the Avengers movies and also in Agents of Shield, they really don't reference anything he ever did in Agents of Shield. So I think they would be fine just shuttling that off to the Netflix um, world of Marvel shows and pretending like it never really happened.
Yeah. Well, this thing too is like I was actually like kind of stoked. And here's the thing too, with Inhumans, it's kind of a sour spot for Feige though, because he announced they were doing an Inhumans movie, but then Ike Perlmutter came in and decided he was going to make an Inhumans TV show. 'Cause this was back when he
Yeah.
was still over in charge there and was Kevin Feige's boss. So he came in, and this is you can go back and look. I think it was the Phase 3, maybe the Phase 4 announcement, but they had like Kevin Feige announced
Inhumans. Yep.
Inhumans, and then they made that stupid TV show. And, like, unfortunately, like they had a good cast in it. Like they had the guy who played Ramsay Bolton in there, and the Inhumans themselves, like the core group of Inhumans, are cool. But like, God, that show was so awful. Like, I didn't even get through it all. I watched first episode and I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And it was crazy because they actually did like they did a special in theaters like viewing. You could go to the movie theater and pay to see the first
The
episode of the
pilot.
show,
Yep.
and I would have been demanding a refund if I went and paid to see that garbage on like it was terrible.
I remember the name, like Inhumans, but
You're at least as far as the show is concerned, you're not really missing anything.
no,
And I mean,
doesn't
none of
sound
the
like it.
Inhuman characters are like super duper like popular by any means, and like one of them can't even really talk, or he'll kill everybody around him. So I mean, they're cool. Like the main guy, I can't remember his name. I'm just talking about though. He's a part of the Illuminati, if I'm not mistaken.
Black Bolt.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like the guy who played him is a good actor, but that's the thing. Like they had a good cast. They just and they didn't have a good show. Like, so it's
Yeah.
not their fault. Like, but either way, it's highly disappointing. But that's the only reason I could see them maybe Kevin Feige like really wanting to not bring in the Inhuman stuff because of that history. Like he wanted to do that. But I guess now he could just be like, this is what I was gonna do. Okay, like this is the Inhumans. All right,
Sure.
like
This could be his, screw you to the to Ike Perlman, be like, "Oh yeah, you thought you could do a show better than me?
yeah,
Here's how
right,
you actually do this." Yeah.
exactly. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see more than anything that point with when it comes to the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel show is how they explain her powers because they could always just say she's a mutant and just go with that, or just say they could not explain it at all, just kind of like Scarlet Witch for the longest time, just like I don't know. Like I guess they kind of made it out to be that she was experimented on, but they could just have that same kind of general backstory for her. Like who knows? Either way. But I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. This and the Hawkeye show, like I never really wanted a Hawkeye show. Like I like Hawkeye. He's cool. I like him in all the movies. Never really cared for his own show. And same with Black Widow. I never really cared for her to have her own movie or anything, but the movie looks great. Like I think it looks really cool. So we'll
Dude,
see.
I'm telling you, if they hit the tone and feel of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye run, that Hawkeye show might be my favorite Marvel show. Like, because that comic run that it looks like a lot of they're basing a lot of um this off of was just it's one of the best comic runs of the past decade,
Yeah.
easily. It was that good. So yeah, I'm super hyped about the Hawkeye one.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place for it because, like, I have pretty much no expectations for it or
That's
Black
Yeah.
true.
Widow.
Yeah.
So, like, because I was just like, I don't even want them to have their own thing. I'm just not interested in it. Not that I don't like, I love the characters. They're great in all the movies they're in. I love the characters. I just never cared. Like, I was not asking for kind of like a lot of people weren't asking for a Han Solo movie. I wasn't asking for a Black Widow movie. I thought she was cool the way she was. Like, to use her for whatever. But then the trailers came out, and I'm like, this actually looks really good. I'm kind of excited to see it now. So I'm presumably I'll probably be the same way with Hawkeye since I have like zero expectations. Maybe they drop a super dope trailer, then I'll probably be pretty hyped for it. Kind of like what happened with Loki.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I don't really care about a Loki show. We've had how much Loki have we had for God's sake? But then that trailer came out, and all of a sudden, it's my most anticipated Disney Plus series. So we'll see. So question is though, guys, what do you think about all this? Are you excited to see that the comic accurate costumes coming up? Does it get you more excited for the Hawkeye show? Where you're already looking forward to it? Same goes with the Miss Marvel Kamala Khan costume. I was surprised to see that she was even in costume at all. I thought they would just kind of introduce her. She's got all the crazy, stretchy powers and all this stuff, and then that'd be it. But no, she looks like at least presumably, possibly even early on, she's already in costume. So I'm curious to see where that comes into play. So let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our penultimate topics here. This is a bit of a mismatch of three Star Wars related stories here, like kind of like news bits that I found were kind of interesting here. One in particular that kind of leads into the news of the KOTOR game that the KOTOR remake that we talked about. I think it was last week. There was a comment in the article that kind of said that they were looking to with the KOTOR remake, the Knights of the Old Republic remake, that they're trying to bring some stuff from that era into current Star Wars canon, which is very vague, and it's kind of just like pure speculation in a lot of ways because none of this has really been confirmed by like Disney or Lucasfilm or anything. But it causes a lot of speculation, at least for me, and fans of, Knights of the Old Republic, and those characters and everything too. But there's a new article here coming out that kind of further suggests that they are looking to do some stuff with those characters. And this article in particular is referencing Darth Revan, which he's my favorite Star Wars character, canon or not. He's the coolest. And they're saying, at least with these reports here, these rumors, if you will, that he may be making an appearance in the Acolyte series, the upcoming Disney Plus Acolyte series, and he might be. They're saying in that show he may just be like come up in like hologram form rather or something. So maybe he appears from like a Sith holocron. Hell, it could even be a Jedi holocron because he kind of played both sides. So you never really know. But then there are a couple quotes here that are kind of interesting. So they go on to say, like, if you're a fan of Knights of the Old Republic, Darth Revan will be coming back into canon very soon and something Disney related. And then there's going to be a big push for Sith characters post Mandalorian. That's going to be Disney's big Disney Plus slate, starting with the Acolyte, which I find kind of interesting. And then obviously, the timeline won't match up, but I know for sure there is concept art out there of Revan in hologram, which I believe is for the Acolyte. It will kind of tease his own series eventually. So, there's lots of different kind of takes right now about what they're doing with the Old Republic, because we have the first rumors essentially that they're remaking KOTOR, and they're looking to kind of modernize the canon in a lot of ways for it is what it kind of sounds like. Is based on like the story about the remake of the game, it almost seemed like they were gonna maybe set it in a different time period to maybe, like I think John even mentioned like maybe they'll be kind of retooling everything, at least timeline wise, to make all this stuff fit in during the High Republic era. I hope they don't do that, but nevertheless, they very well may. I don't know if we've had confirmation of when the Acolyte takes place. I think it actually takes place towards now that I'm remembering, I think they announced that it's gonna be taking place towards the end of the High Republic era. So, I don't know. If you're thinking that, they could be bringing this KOTOR timeline in and kinda meshing it in with the High Republic era, it does kind of make sense then at that point, for this Revan hologram to appear in the Acolyte, but we'll just have to wait and kind of see. I still hope that they keep it 3,000 plus years apart and just stay true to the old story because I think it's much cooler, especially if they're going to actually make like a Revan series or something. When you're set that far back, you don't have to worry about anything affecting the current modern timeline. It just gives you a lot more freedom. So I don't know. I hope they keep it back. That's just me though. Then there's some news here that there's a Mandalorian game, presumably here for PC, Xbox, the new Xbox and the PS5 and everything, which would make sense if they're developing that, especially now that we have the Star Wars gaming license is opened up to more than just EA now. So, and they had a old bounty hunter game back in the day on like GameCube era, and you were like Django Fett. I think you were Django, right?
It's a good game, yeah.
Yeah, they had that game. So, I mean, it would make sense for them to make another Mandalorian bounty hunter-esque style game. They've kind of done it before. Mandalorian's popping off, so why would you not? So, I mean, that could be kind of cool. And then this other article here, Ewan McGregor kind of mentioned in an interview that, and this was kind of like an obvious one in my opinion, but felt like adding it in here. But they're going to be using stagecraft essentially for this show, just like they are for like all their Disney Plus shows now, presumably. And we just recently found out that even Thor 4, so they're going to be using the stagecraft technology that Mandalorian has been using. So which makes sense. It's all the home of Disney. So, and it's great technology. So I don't see why they wouldn't use it. But it looks like we got confirmation from Ewan here that it's going to be carrying over into his Obi-Wan series. So I don't know. Expect the same kind of realistic looking scenery and everything that you see in the Mandalorian, the cool effects that's going to happen in Obi-Wan too. So that's exciting, and so it's not going to look like the prequels, which again kind of obvious. We're like 20 years later now. There's really no reason for it to look like the prequels. So either way, we got confirmation of that. So Rick, out of all the things that we usually talk about on the show, Star Wars is what you're most interested in. So what do you think about this stuff here? Is there any of these free Star Wars topics that got you excited? Any input on that?
Well, I know people have always talked about making Revan into like a live action character, but he's not technically canon, is he?
He is technically canon right now.
Right now.
Because it depends on what you want to think. Because I've said this before, and this is what I kind of hate where Lucasfilm's gone with and Disney has gone with canon on their end, because they say that anything that happens in the comics or the books and all this stuff since Disney took over is canon. But it's only canon if it doesn't contradict what happens in the movies.
Yeah.
Ergo, nothing but the movies is truly canon. Like, that's what that really means.
Yeah.
So, the most recent thing that technically canonized Darth Revan was in I believe it was the Rise of Skywalker Encyclopedia or Visual Dictionary. It was one of the books. I think it was a Visual Dictionary. It references those Sith acolytes that were like there in the temple.
Yeah.
There was something in there that
I think it was a statue.
What?
There's a statue of like Sith lords, like when.
Oh, but yeah, he wasn't in that. It was just referencing that there were these like Revan acolytes, and like it said in the Visual Dictionary that like these acolytes like followed the beliefs of Darth Revan or something along those lines. So that was the only thing that has like truly canonized Revan in current Star Wars, but it was just kind of a one-off line saying that there were followers of Revan essentially. Prior to that, he was going to make an appearance in the Clone Wars, where in the same vein that Darth Bane made an appearance when Yoda went to that temple, Revan was going to appear as like in that same fashion, but that never happened. So either way,
I think it'd be cool though. Revan's a cool character. He's an interesting one too, and the Acolyte has me excited. Like, I think it's cool that they're kind of exploring that darker side of Star Wars, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yep, well, that's my thing. Take this however you want, but all the Sith characters are my favorite characters in Star Wars.
Because you're evil.
Maybe. I don't know. But Revan's not really evil.
No.
Like,
no.
I mean, he's actually kind of like a good guy. Yeah. Like, he is a good guy. Like, he's kind of like a dude who just realized, you know what, I could be a lot better off if I just learned how to do this dark side stuff too. Like,
yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like, yeah, he may have killed some people along the way, but still.
In Star Wars, that's nothing.
Yeah, like in the end, he was still a good guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he was a Jedi, and then he learned the dark side, and then he came back to the light side. That's why I was saying he plays both sides of the field. Like,
Right.
and it's not like it was all just to like better himself more so than like world domination, like Malik, you know, like
Yeah.
Malik was like went truly evil, or Revan just kind of was a lot more gray. Like leaned a little bit more evil than like Ahsoka in the gray Jedi kind of field, but like either way, Revan's the coolest dude. So I mean, if they actually make a series, which I don't really think they would make a series, I think it'd be better suited for like a movie. Because I mean, it's Revan, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like if they were gonna, at least in my opinion,
A Knights of the Old Republic movie would be cool.
yeah, like I would do a true KOTOR like trilogy of sorts, you know, a
Yeah.
KOTOR saga, and like flush it out. I mean, I guess it'd be fine for like a Game of Thronesy kind of show too.
Yeah.
So
I just remember.
it'd be good.
I just remember the cutscenes from what was it, the Old Republic. They were so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the CG ones.
Oh yeah, and if the shows
Yeah,
are
they're
anything
awesome.
like that, like I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that's why I've always wanted them to make just a full movie with that same CG stuff, like
Yeah,
that same CG technology. It's just like,
they did
just do
great on
that.
that.
Yeah, just do that, man. Just do that. But John, what about this stuff here tickles your fancy? Did any of this Star Wars stuff here got you excited?
Uh,
I think your mic's muted.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. We'll see. The Revan stuff, like, I just went KOTOR, so like,
True.
you bring him up, you bring him in, you tease us with him. Good for you. That's awesome. But like, just all this talk around the Knights of the Old Republic, it's like so you know how important and how much people love that game and that world and that era of Star Wars. Why are you trying to mess with it? Like, why won't you just, do an adaptation of it, or do something set in that time? Like, I'm very confused by all this. Like, oh, we may bring him up to this, we may do this with them or that with them. Like, just give us a KOTOR series, like, or a movie. Like, come on, you know it's important to people. You know people love it. Like that's one of the things that drives me nuts about, like do you think you can do it better than they did before? Do you think all these fans are in love with it because it was done just mediocre to begin with? Like, no, like, they love it because it was done well and good. So, like, just do that. So anyway, sorry, that's kind of a tangent there, but like, I hope I hope that's where they take that. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I agree, and that's why I was saying like I don't want them to like bring the KOTOR story into like the High Republic era. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
I just want them to just do KOTOR. Just if you're
Yeah.
gonna do it, then just do it. Everyone likes what's already there. So tweaking it to fit some pretty much a current agenda because you want the High Republic to work is not going to please anybody. Like that's going to alienate everybody who is a fan who has kept the Old Republic stuff alive. It's just like me being one of like Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic, that era of Star Wars is honestly my favorite era of Star Wars. I love the movies and all that; they're great. But like, I mean, the original trilogy and the prequels are fine. But because this stuff was way more interesting to me on like a fundamental storytelling level, Knights of the Republic is way cooler than like anything we've gotten in like actual Star Wars canon, in my opinion. Love Star Wars in general, but the KOTOR stuff is my favorite era. Everything they did with that was the coolest shit, in my opinion. Like that's just me. I might be alone on that in that camp. I have no idea, but I think it's great. It's kind of like it's akin to how much I like Batman Beyond. You know, like I love
love
Batman
Batman
Beyond.
Beyond.
I think Batman Beyond, like people, like I'd rather have Batman Beyond than like than like Nightwing stuff. Give me Batman Beyond, like truly. Like I know I'm talking to someone who goes by Nightwing a lot, so you may not agree with me on that, but like I think Batman Beyond's the coolest, man. Aside from Bruce Wayne Batman, Terry McGinnis Batman is my favorite Batman. You know what I mean? But Batman is Bruce Wayne in the end. You know what I mean? Just like Captain America is Steve Rogers. in the end. That's just how I feel about it, though. I just don't want them to bring this stuff in for the sake of bringing it in and turning it into something that it's not, you know? That's
True.
the only thing I'm really worried
Yeah.
about. So, in the end, it's like, what's the point? It's
Right.
like, if you're gonna do it, just do it.
I'm
So,
excited for the Obi-Wan series though. I think that's got a lot going for it. It'll
yeah.
be interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've said it before, but I think it's safe to say that, like, Ewan McGregor was everybody's favorite part about the prequels. Like, I think
Yeah.
hands
Right.
down, like, out of everything that happened in the prequels, he was kind of the saving grace of it all.
He was
Like,
great.
Qui-Gon Jinn was
Honestly.
cool and everything, and, like, I loved Liam in that role, but, like, he was only in the first movie, spoiler alert. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. And then, like, on paper, I still stand by the fact that the prequels are great on paper. It's just they weren't executed very well.
No.
Like, they weren't executed very well at all, so obviously, like I said, with that story, it's kind of obvious that they're gonna be using the stagecraft stuff, though.
No, yeah.
I'm just curious what they're, I don't know, with that show, we still don't really know what they're doing with it, man. Like, Hayden's coming back, like, it's just weird. I'm curious as to what they're doing with it just because of that. I think that
Right.
really, like, changed things in a lot of ways. Like, we're gonna have Vader back in it for some reason. So,
Yeah, that's one of those that also like the potential for how good that show could be is like makes me like I don't even care that I don't know what's going to be in it. I
yeah.
don't care like to me they're taking the best elements from the prequels and building a show around it. So for me it's like just bring me the show. Like I'll discover what it's going to be about as I watch the show. I don't really. I'm a little concerned that they'll give something away that will be really cool ahead of time. Like with the Mandalorian stuff, like we didn't have any expectations really and stuff. And I think people were just kind of speculating, just but they were unfolding or experiencing as it went along. I hope that we can do the same with Obi-Wan. I hope it just gets to reveal itself as it plays out, and not like there's aren't too many spoilers that come out or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with Mandalorian too, I've said it before, but it was amazing they were able to keep Baby Yoda under wraps.
Or Luke Skywalker.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, the Luke
Yeah.
Skywalker thing was even kept under wraps. So it gives me
Yeah.
some kind of faith that, like, if they do have some surprises for Obi-Wan, that they'll keep some of it hidden.
Like, I mean, do you like I understand what you're saying about like we don't know what it's about, but do you think we need to do you think not just we, do you think the general public needs to know what it's about? I mean, I would think that if anything could sell itself to the general public without any kind of knowledge about what the plot was or what like the Mandalorian, they told us ahead of time it was about this bounty hunter, and they actually didn't even tell us what it really was about because it ended up being
Yeah.
about him and Grogu. But they told us, you had an idea of there was this bounty hunter and he was going to be going around tracking down bounties. But do
That's
you
not
think
even
that they
what it
need to
is.
tell us? Yeah, yeah. Do you think that they need to tell us what Obi-Wan? I mean, to me, Obi-Wan, Ewan McGregor, that sells that show.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you don't need I don't need an idea of what the story is for that. You've sold me just with those two elements.
I'm totally with you. The only thing that threw me for a loop with it was they announced that Hayden's coming back, because I never
Uh-huh.
expected Vader to be involved with it, because it
No.
just I didn't, like we've said before, based on what happened in the movies, like, they hadn't seen each other since Mustafar.
Yeah.
Like, so I had no expectations that Vader would be nothing more than whispered about in,
Yeah.
like, by maybe someone talking about the Emperor and all this stuff, but, like, they're bringing Hayden back, and they said that they're gonna have a rematch, so, like, that's where I'm kinda like, once I got that information, I'm like, "Well, where are they going with this show then?" Like,
Yeah.
because I was always kind of confused as and, like, interested in what they were going to do with the show to begin with, because, like, again, from what we knew, Obi-Wan was just a hermit on Tatooine ever since the fall of the Republic. So, my initial assumption was, okay, well, maybe something happens that takes him off world for a bit, and, like, there's just that's the story we're gonna see. But then they say that Vader's gonna be in it, so it's like, well, shit, who knows? Like, there is it who I'm just generally curious where they're even going with it. Like, what story do they have to tell? Because initially, like I said, I just thought, like, it was gonna be some offshoot thing, but, like, now I feel like it's something bigger now that Vader's involved somehow, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only thing, like, I don't know, like, maybe does he catch wind that Vader is going out and hunting down Jedi, and he actually steps in to kind of get him to stop. One final attempt to bring him to the light side, to like make him stop what he's doing, and maybe that's like the big story point. Like, I don't know. Like, is Vader gonna be like a co-star, or is he just gonna show up like one time? Because I think it'd be kind of cool. Like, I've always thought it'd be cool to see like a movie or a show or something about like Vader hunting down the Jedi.
Be dark.
It would be dark. But if anything about this article is true, where they're going to start focusing on a lot of Sith stuff and bringing some Sith related things in, having the juxtaposition of like the show being an Obi-Wan show, but like the big thing that happens is like this big story point is him going out to try to stop Vader from killing all the Jedi. Because then we could get kind of the best of both worlds. Like, we get that Vader hunting down the Jedi show, and then we get Obi-Wan show, and like that's what it is. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I always thought it'd be cool though too. They could have their own little cinematic universe here of like introduce Cal Kestis, but then have a show like have a Darth Vader show with a Star Killer, and he's training Star Killer and shit. And then when Star Killer like is about to get killed by Vader and the Emperor and all that stuff, he leaves, and one of the Jedi he's like he gets told to go kill is Cal Kestis, and then it opens up like a Cal Kestis show and a Star Killer show. Like, and, I think that would be cool. Be
Yeah,
like a
that'd be
little,
Yeah.
that'd be super cool. But either way, I mean, it could tie into this Obi-Wan show. Like we're introduced to Vader, and then we find out at the end that Vader's training Star Killer. Then there's a Star Killer show, and then the series finale or the season finale of the Star Killer show is him going out to kill Cal Kestis, and then Cal Kestis is like, dude, they're using you, like whatever, and then it's bam, the Cal Kestis show. Like, it'd be, I don't know, I thought that'd be fucking cool. You should
Yeah.
hire me, Lucasfilm.
Right.
Hire me. Got ideas. Don't bring Revan into the High Republic. Primary idea. So, but guys, the question is, what do you think about this Star Wars news here? Does it surprise you at all that the Obi-Wan series is going to be using stagecraft? Because it doesn't for me at all. Like, I figured it was just kind of par for the course at this point. They have this technology. They're going to keep using it. What about the Old Republic information? Do you feel the same way about me? Where it's like, why would you, risk alienating your audience here of the, all the fans of Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic, just to completely, essentially retcon the whole thing and bring it into a different era? Like, I really hope they don't do that. I hope they find another way of either doing that sort of show and referencing in current canon, but keeping it generally the same. It's fine if you want to make some changes here and there, but I feel like jumping their time period 3,000 plus years to like the present time, quote unquote, is not the way to do it. But let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final topic here is going to be a bit of a spoiler warning. We're going to talk about Invincible, the animated series here on Amazon Prime Video. It's kind of a series here that I knew nothing about the comics going into it. Heard a lot of good things about it, so I decided to watch it. And I said before, I think I said on stream, it actually took me like, I think 3 days to even get through the first episode. But once you get to the end, like, if you're not hooked after the end of that first episode, then I don't really know what to tell you. I think if you're on the fence about giving it a shot, because it's like it is kind of just another superhero thing, right? Like, if you're not familiar with the actual source material, it may just seem like, oh, okay, well, it's a cartoon and it's about superheroes who aren't Marvel characters and aren't this and aren't that. Like, everyone's trying to like capitalize on the superhero properties right now. It could totally seem that way for the uninitiated, I suppose. Because even with me, like I said, it took me a couple days to even finish watching it, just because I didn't know nothing about it. Nothing about it really until the end of the first episode really like intrigued me. It just seemed a lot kind of like par for the course. But then once the ending occurs, and I guess I did warn for spoilers here, so final warning. But at the end of that first episode, when Omni-Man comes in and just kills their version of the Justice League, when you have no idea why, that doesn't get you in. I don't really know what will. So that obviously hooked me. I went through the rest of it, pretty much watched them all as they came out. And the finale just happened. And I gotta say, the last 2 episodes were probably my favorite 2 episodes of the whole series. But a lot of the characters in there, like I said it early on, like I think think I told John over on Discord when I first started watching the show that I thought it was like a really good thing that they did end up killing off all those people, like the Guardians of the Globe, the initial roster of it, because the initial roster of Guardians of the Globe, which is like their Justice League, they were essentially Justice League knockoffs. Like all of them, you had your Wonder Woman kind of character, you had your Batman kind of character, you had your Superman character, you had all this, and I was just like, it was a really good and smart decision of like, Robert Kirkman, the guy who created the series and everything, and the comics and everything, to have those characters, but then kill them immediately. You know what I mean? And I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that actually doesn't happen till towards the end of the series in the comics run, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like where Omni-Man actually kills the Guardians of the Globe.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of when. No, I think it happens fairly early.
Does it?
It's been a while since I've read it, but yeah, the reveal of Omni-Man and what's going on happens fairly early. And I think the Guardians of the Globe thing happened because they do the whole setup. Yeah, it must happen early. It must happen really because you have the whole thing with them setting up the new Guardians of the Globe. So it must happen relatively early in the comics as well.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I'm unfamiliar with the comics, and I heard that it's very true to the comic series. I mean, like I said, with Robert Kirkman, the guy who created the series, he also created Walking Dead and all that, if the name sounds familiar. But he's like heavily involved with this show as well. So kind of like he was with Walking Dead for a long period of time. So it makes sense that it would be following the comics like fairly well at that point. So but again, it's just they because when the show opens up, you're kind of set with the expectation, and it will give you the impression of like this is just another superhero show attempt where they have all these characters that are very reminiscent of characters we already know. Because like I said, the Guardians of the Globe is pretty much the Justice League, and so I thought it was very astute to just kill him instantly, and then like you just the great part about the show, and I can't really speak for the comic though, is like the whole first season is pretty much just trying to figure out like, well, why did Omni-Man kill them? Because the show follows Invincible, the guy in the yellow, and then Omni-Man, his dad, and it kind of you know unravels from there. And like we know that happened where he killed them all, but like you don't find out like no other characters really learn about that till the second half of the season. And then once they do, kind of all hell kind of breaks loose, and it kind of coincides exactly with once all that's done. I'm going to jump forward to the end here. With Omni-Man, you learn, at least in the show, like I said, this might happen more earlier on, but in like the second, I think it was the second to last episode, you find out why it happened. And it's because like Omni-Man, his race of people, his alien race of people, they're called Viltrumites. And they essentially what they do is they're one of them, they're like a conquering they're a race kind of akin to the Kryptonians where like they started spanning out the globe to like conquer things, but like not as like evil as the Kryptonians did. The Kryptonians, at least for the most part, even in like Man of Steel mythology, they didn't go out and like conquer current civilizations, but they tried to expand their, have their race exist on different planets in the galaxy. You know what I mean? Not necessarily take over and everything, but that's exactly what the Viltrumites do. They essentially send off a Viltrumite to all these planets to overthrow them and have them pretty much kneel to the Viltrumite Empire, just so they can further expand the Viltrumite Empire. So Omni-Man explains even like on the home world of Viltrumite on Viltrum, they weeded out all the weak. So there was like this huge civil war on Viltrum where they all can like kill each other. So the only people that remained were the strongest of like their race. And then from there, they started their galactic conquest out. So like they pretty much weeded out all the weaklings, and they have all those pretty much like General Zod wanted to do for the most part. So Omni-Man and the Viltrumites pretty much have the powers of Superman, but they don't have heat vision. And it's not because of the yellow sun or anything like that. He's just super strong. He can fly super fast, but he just is that way. He can go to any solar system without a yellow sun and do it. And it's really cool when you learn all that stuff, in my opinion, because it sets it, again, something that sets it apart from your classic, you know, superhero tropes. Like, they could have just done like, "Oh, here's the Superman character, here it is," but no, they gave him like this backstory to where like they're all sent out, like they send the Viltrumite out to these planets to essentially conquer them. And if they don't like if in this instance, if humanity didn't kneel to the Viltrumite Empire and join them, then he'll just kill them all. And the show is very graphic. There's a lot of brutal, gory stuff that happens, which is just a bonus because in the end, all the characters are great. Like I haven't even talked about like Invincible, like the main character you follow is played by Stephen Yeun, the guy who played Glenn in the Walking Dead show. He's great in it. The voice cast is stellar in general. Like J.K. Simmons does Omni-Man. So if you haven't checked it out, obviously you just got spoiled on a lot of it. So I did warn for it. But either way, the main point for me is that like I had no expectations going into the show. Didn't really care for like the first half of the first episode, but then by the end of it, it's really good. Like it's really good. And all like the violence of it is like it's not just violence for the sake of violence. It all kind of tells a story. Like in the end, for instance, like when you learn all that stuff about Omni-Man, like I just kind of did an overview of, you learn that by Omni-Man explaining it to Invincible, who is his son. But Invincible, he was raised as a human. Like he knew that his dad was Omni-Man and he'd come into these powers and everything, but he was raised as a human. So he didn't know anything about this Viltrumite stuff at all. So like Omni-Man kind of drops this bomb on him that like, we're here so we can take over the planet. Like that's it. So obviously, Invincible being raised as a human, he's not for that. So it's like he goes to fight his dad and he gets his fucking ass beat. He's all bloody, he's all cut up and stuff, and like the violence lends itself to the narrative. It's just like a cool thing that happens, but it's always used in a way that it gives it more meaning. You know what I mean? Like when someone, like if someone's injured, they're injured. It goes on to like the next episode or something. It's not just like in most shows if someone got a black eye, it would be gone in the next scene or anything. Like, no, if someone gets injured in it, then like they remain injured. Like it's part of telling the story in a lot of ways. I don't know. It's really cool. John, you haven't. You said that you haven't actually had to finish the show, and Rick hasn't really seen the show. So, what are your kind of overall thoughts on the series so far? I think you just haven't seen the last 2 episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I love the show. I think the show's doing an excellent job. So far, again, it's been a little while since I read the comics. The comics came out, the first issues of the comics came out before the Walking Dead comics came out, I believe. I think I have that timeline right. So, it's been a while that this comic series has been out. And it's actually been over for a while now too. But I actually just while you were talking there, because you were asking stuff, I wanted to get some clarification on. I went over and grabbed my Invincible compendium for it's like the first 50 issues or whatever.
Mhm.
But everything that happens in this first season happens within the first 12 issues of the comic series. So, if you equate the comic series to the first 12 issues to a year, which comics are released monthly, so that works out about right. It's like the first season covers about the first year of the comics. So that gives you an idea. And then the series ran for, I believe, maybe about 10 years or so in the comics. So that gives you an idea just of how early and stuff all this stuff was played out. So it was pretty early in the run of the comics where they gave you all the backstory on his dad and the Viltrumites and what was going on, the Guardians and stuff like that. So yeah, it's playing pretty true to the way I remember the comic from everything that you told me that happened. And like you said, the violence it's there because it's, there's a certain part of it that's like it's over the top violence and stuff too. But it's also like kind of realistic in a way. Like if you have somebody that's the power level of Superman punches somebody in the chest, that's going to be a very vicious and visceral reaction that happens there. So I don't think the violence is it's warranted for the power levels that you're talking about with these characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed the series. I might sound anytime somebody says they really enjoy something, but then they're they haven't finished it, and it's a kind of the question becomes, well, if you're so into it, why haven't you finished it? Honestly, it's just time right now. I'm having time watching anything or keeping up with anything I like. It took me a week and a half to watch Mortal Kombat, and I was really excited about that. So it's just finding the time for all this great stuff that's coming out right now. And Invincible, I think, took a backseat to Falcon and Winter Soldier, partly because I know the story of Invincible. So like as much as I'm enjoying it, I love it. It's already something I kind of know to an extent. It's just how they're making the adaptation to the screen, and they're doing a great job with it. I'm glad to hear that somebody like you that had no prior knowledge of it is really enjoying it and liking it, because it was one of the most uh, unique concepts when it came out in the comics. Like you get the story, and you're like, oh, okay, here we go, another teen finding out that he's got superpowers and his dad's a Superman. Like, oh, okay, what if Superman had a son? This will be a fun story in the comics. And then you get that turn with his dad being not a good guy, and it's just great. It's like, oh wow, that's the hook. That's what draws you in and makes it go from just a good comic to, and oh my god, this is like a really unique, cool thing that they're doing. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. It kind of flips the script. It
yeah,
kind of, and that's what like I said, that like when I first started watching it, it was just kind of like, okay, this is like
yeah,
there's your Justice League people. This kid's gonna get powers eventually. Yeah, we get it. Cool. But then at the end, you at the end of the first episode, you get Omni Man comes in and kills that Justice League crew of people, and you have
yeah,
no idea why. So, and that's the first kind of like thing that flips the script on you. It makes you like it's a level of intrigue to it. It's definitely it's good. It's really good. Like I had like you said, and like I said, I had no expectations going into the show. When I first came on, I wasn't really hooked on it till like the end, until that scene happens, because then there's like a level of intrigue to it. And that's why I said it's like a really it's a fresh take on a kind of I don't know, not really. It's just a story that's kind of run its course and could be. It's been done a million times, having your Superman kind of character and your Justice League kind of characters and all that. And but then because there's like a lot of shades of gray with it, because like Omni Man's not a bad guy. Like he's not like an evil person. He's kind of like Thanos in a lot of ways. Like he's just he had a mission, and he knows he could kill everybody there, and his goal is to conquer the planet. Like he's not necessarily a dick. Like he's a really nice, normal dude, like for the most part. But he's staying true to his beliefs, and like he's there to take over the planet. Like that's what he's there for. Like
Yeah, from his point of view, he doesn't view it as evil.
yeah, it's like it is evil, but he's not like it's literally just pretty much like Thanos. Like he wasn't like Thanos is a bad guy, but like his whole thing with the snap wasn't done out of like I want to kill everybody just so I can enjoy it, like the Joker. Like like the Joker's more of a true like chaotic kind of evil person who does things for his own personal pleasure more so than anything, and to fuck with Batman. But like he has a goal. Thanos had a goal, like and it's not like an evil goal. It's the actions he needs to take to achieve his goal are evil. They can be viewed as evil, but it's a little bit more gray because like you can see where he's coming from. Like what I mean. That's kind of like the best villains that are out there. Like if you can empathize with them, then they're more interesting. But like you can thoroughly see where like Omni Man's coming from, and he's not like doing it out of spite or anger or anything like that. It's just like this is the job essentially, like so that's what made it kind of cool. So Rick, you haven't seen it here, so I'm going to play this quick clip. Hopefully we don't get
A lot of blood from the
taken
pictures I've
off of this
seen.
one. Well, this scene here I thought was one of the coolest scenes that happened in the final episode here, because it's after Omni-Man tells him all the stuff that I said, that he's from Viltrum and he's here to take over the planet. He told his son all that, and his son's like, well, that's not cool. Like, I'm not going to support that. And he tries to fight him.
Right.
So he's trying to convince him, like, that everything that he's fighting for, like, doesn't matter. Like, he's going to outlive all of humanity. Like, they live for thousands of years. So he's just like, what are you going to do in 500 years? All these people that you're wanting to save right now, you're going to outlive them, like that thing. And then one of the things he does is he takes him down to the subway station here, and like just holds him out in front of it and just has him plow through the entire subway thing. and just like everybody's just getting cut to shreds. Like
Jesus.
it's like it's definitely graphic for the sake of being graphic.
Why
Like,
are his eyes red?
but well, his eyes are red because just before that,
He just
the
chiefed or something?
no
Just checking.
he's super spleefed. Like
Yeah.
no a guy named Immortal who was kind of like the Superman in the Guardians of the Globe. He came in and tried to stop Omni-Man. Like he killed him in the beginning, but then his name's Immortal for a reason. Like he can come back to life essentially if the tools are presented for himself. But either way, he came back to life and he was fighting him, and he tried gouging his eyes out.
Oh.
So and that like just happened. So his eyes are red from that, which goes to like what I was saying when you're injured in the show, like you remain injured. Like it's like a small detail they could have not done,
Yeah.
but like no, his eyes got gouged out by someone with superhero strength, like super strength. So his eyes are red,
Yeah.
and they remain red.
And that makes sense.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like this scene in particular, it's like yeah, it's gory for the sake of being gory in a lot of ways, but he's like there's a point to it, like there's narrative purpose to it, so it's like cool, like I mean it's kind of like Mortal Kombat in a sense, like some of the gore's there just for flair, but it's also kind of part of the story. Like the
Yeah.
fatalities and all that stuff. Like that's what the story is. And with this, it's kind of like John said, if you get punched in the face by Superman, your head's going to explode.
Right.
And that's what happens in the show. Like if Omni-Man punches you in the face, he goes through you. Like plain and simple. Like he will literally punch right through you. So it's really cool. So Rick, you're the one here who hasn't seen anything. You haven't watched the show yet. Does anything that we've just talked about, or a little like review here of it, or breakdown of it, has it inspired you to give the show a chance? Are you interested?
Yeah, I might start it tonight, actually. I've got Amazon Prime, so, why not? But, uh, the animation style reminds me a lot of, like, the classic, like, comic books shows, like Batman, the animated series, that sort of stuff. But, it looks good. I mean, the cast sounds good. I like the violence, honestly, as horrible as that sounds.
No, yeah, that's great.
I mean, like, that picture you had of Invincible where his face was all beat up and cut up, like, that's brutal looking.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And that's where like his dad did that to him.
that's what I'm saying, that's child abuse, like
Well, yeah. During that scene though, too, like you saw, like when I was kind of skimming through it, like he starts to get kind of like sad looking, like
Yeah.
on man, and he ends up flying away. Like he ends up having like a flashback here as he's pummeling his son. Um, Pretty much just about him, like the first memory he has of actually like kind of enjoying humanity, because this scene starts out with like he's standing on like the kid's playing a baseball game, he's whatever, and it's like his first baseball game, but like he's standing over there with his arms crossed off to the side, and then like his wife comes up and he's just like, this is such a waste of time, like I could be, how much like stuff I could be doing right now, like all the people I could be saving, like I have so many better things to do, kind of thing. But
Right.
then like his wife comes over and just like explains like that this is what humanity is, like this is your son, and like we made him, and like blah 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 blah, mushy gushy shit. But he remembered this, and it got to him, so like he ended up fucking flying away, like so Invincible was alive and stuff. So
Yeah, he looks pretty upset.
yeah, like he gets pretty upset, but then he just leaves, and like we don't know where he went. It kind of like sets up season 2, like the end of the series sets up season 2 and stuff. And I don't know, I'm excited to see. They renewed it for season 2 and 3. So, like I said, I didn't. It's not that I had no interest in it, but like I didn't know what it was going into it.
Right.
So I was pleasantly surprised by how they kind of flipped the script on the whole genre, and they have all these kind of relatable characters with people that you kind of know, like you've seen before. Like I said, you had your Justice League there, you had your your classic characters that were there, but it's totally different. Like it's totally unique in its own right. So
Right.
and all the two, we didn't really talk about it, but like all like the other characters, so like there was like this teen group. It was called Teen Team, which is pretty much like Teen Titans. There were all these like younger heroes, and they become once Omni-Man killed all the other like the Justice League, the Guardians of the Globe. these other heroes became the new Guardians of the Globe, but they're primarily were made up of this teen team thing. And
Yeah.
even those characters are cool. Like, and like what was good, nice about those characters is they weren't your classic rip-offs of other characters. Like Robot is like probably like the coolest character of that whole group, and you find out that he's not just like a robot at all. Like he's like this 30-year-old genius who's in like this weird decrepit like body, and like it's weird. Like it's weird. If you haven't seen it, I think I've spoiled enough of it, so you can just go and watch it. But Zachary Quinto does the voice of Robot. Like the voice cast is freaking stacked, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and it's really good. But like I like that like they have all these more unique heroes become like the centerpiece because the kind of Justice League ripoff characters were all killed. So it was kind of cool. Like,
Right.
so I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add about it, John? Any recommendations you would have for the show at all? I pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, you covered, yeah, a lot of it. If you like the show, and obviously if you can't wait for the next few seasons, the comics are out there, and I have a feeling. I mean, there have been little diversions here or there that I've noted. It's actually I'd like to go back and read some of the comics again and try and see if I notice some more diversions. But the first thing, obviously, I need to do is finish the show. So
Right. Yeah. In the end, I think it's great. It got me hooked in there. I think the last 2 episodes are probably my favorite again. So it's good. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Hopefully, the little reviews here have swayed you to it. I mean, it looks like Rick's going to actually check it out now. So
Very
we'll
well
see with
made.
that. But we're going to wrap things up here now, guys. So, Rick, where can everybody find you online?
You can follow me on Instagram at Sir Rick Metz. Come like my stupid pictures and follow me and whatever.
There it is. John, where can everybody find you online, sir?
I'm over at Nightwing_K, and you can find that at Twitter and Instagram. And I'm hoping that tomorrow, when the show goes up, I can be on a little more on the ball than I've been the past couple weeks, and get the show tweeted and grammed out a little quicker. I think the past couple weeks I've either missed it completely or gotten it up late. So hopefully I'll be able to stay on top of that.
I'm very bad at doing that myself. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. More often than not, I just completely forget about doing. I don't spend any time on social media, so like it's not something I ever think about doing. And then when I do think about doing it, it's like the time has passed already to where it would have
Yeah.
been relevant to do it. So
Yep.
I'm normally like better about tweeting out or doing an Instagram post about like one of the reviews for something because it's kind of always there. It's not like current. So if like we talked about Invincible today, but the finale just happened. So if I won't remember about it till a week and a half later, like no one cares at that point. Like it kind of defeats the purpose. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, you can follow me just simply at Sir Rob Bifo, and then you can also do not forget you can submit topics just by emailing us here at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. As always, again, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that sorts of good stuff. And then do not forget, every Wednesday, the statue and Hot Toys reviews, collectible reviews in general, those go up every Wednesday. Most recent one was, again, the Punisher War Machine armor Hot Toys figure. It's a great figure, but that review is up on the channel. You can go check that out. And then every Friday, we do the live streaming. We play some video games, do figure unboxings, just hang out. So come hang out with us there every Friday, normally around like 8:30, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So pretty late for all you people on the Pacific, the West Coast. But if you're anything like me, you're up till like 2 or 3 in the morning anyway. So come hang out with us there. And then also, if you can't always watch the show here on YouTube, there is the podcast version, the audio only edition that goes up simultaneously every Monday at 7 a.m. when this show goes up. So search Honest and Uneducated on your podcast platform of choice, iTunes, Spotify. It's all there. Go and subscribe to the podcast. And again, like, subscribe, and all that sorts of fun stuff. But until next time, guys, take care.